The war ended quietly, not with celebration, but with exhaustion. The stars above the neutral station burned cold and distant as ships from a dozen species drifted in slow formation. Hulls still carried scars from battle. Some were human gray, some alien shapes that bent light and shadow in strange ways. The Galactic War had lasted 12 years, and for most of the galaxy, it had been a surprise that humanity survived at all. For Captain Elias Ward, survival felt heavier than victory. He stood on the receiving deck of the station, boots planted on polished alloy, hands resting at his sides. His uniform was clean, newly issued for the ceremony, but it felt wrong on his skin. Too neat, too final. He had worn the same combat gear for months at a time during the war, patched and burned and stained. That uniform had made sense. This one felt like a costume. Around him stood representatives of the Allied Compact, tall insectoid diplomats with jeweled eyes. Broad, stone-skinned warriors from high-gravity worlds. Thin, luminous beings who communicated through shifting color. They had all come to honor humanity's role in the war, and more specifically, to honor him. Elias did not feel like someone who deserved honor. He had commanded the 3rd Human Expeditionary Battalion during the final push against the Varkesh Dominion. He had followed orders. He had made decisions that saved thousands and condemned hundreds. He had watched cities burn from orbit because there was no other way to stop the enemy fleet. History would call him a hero. He remembered faces. A chime echoed through the deck. The ceremony began. The High Envoy of the Cathari stepped forward. The being was tall, wrapped in layers of ceremonial cloth, 4 arms folded in a gesture Elias had learned meant respect. Its voice came through a translator field, smooth and formal. "Captain Elias Ward of Terra," the envoy said. "By the ancient laws of the Compact, you are recognized as a champion of the war. Humanity's strength, resolve, and adaptability altered the course of history." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the gathered delegates. Elias kept his face neutral. "As is tradition," the envoy continued, "a champion is granted a gift, chosen to reflect honor, trust, and status among the stars." That word made Elias uneasy. Gift. A platform behind the envoy rose silently from the deck. At first, Elias did not understand what he was seeing. Then the light shifted, and the figure on the platform became clear. She was tall, slender, her skin a soft, iridescent blue that reflected the station lights like water. Her features were delicate but alien, high cheekbones, large dark eyes, a crest of fine silver-white tendrils where human hair would be. She wore simple garments, pale and thin, nothing decorative. Around her neck was a smooth metallic collar. She did not look up. Her posture was rigid, practiced, hands folded in front of her, shoulders slightly hunched, a posture learned, not natural. Elias felt his stomach drop. "This is Larathi of the Sarai line," the envoy said, "one of the most prized among the Velari people. She is yours, Captain Ward, a war-bound servant bound by compact law. May she bring you honor, and may your ownership bring her purpose." The word ownership echoed in Elias' mind like a weapon discharge. For a moment the deck was silent. Elias did not move. He had seen slavery before in fragments during the war. Entire systems built on it. Species that treated sentient beings as status symbols, labor tools, or rewards. Humanity had fought alongside allies who practiced it openly. It had been one of the many compromises made in the name of survival. But standing here, with this being presented to him like a medal or a ship, it was different. He looked at her again. Laratha's eyes were fixed on the floor, but he could see the tension in her jaw, the slight tremor in her fingers. She was afraid, not panicked, conditioned fear, the kind that expected pain as a matter of routine. Elias opened his mouth, then closed it. Every instinct told him to refuse, to say no, to walk away. But he could feel the weight of the room pressing down on him. This was not a simple offer. This was a political act, a ritual older than human spaceflight. Refusal would not be seen as morality. It would be seen as insult, rejection of alliance, rejection of shared victory. Humanity's position in the galaxy was still fragile, powerful, yes, but surrounded by cultures that did not think like them. One wrong move could fracture the peace they had bled for. Elias took a slow breath. He stepped forward. "I accept custody," he said carefully. The translator hesitated for half a second before converting the word. Several delegates shifted, confused. The envoy tilted its head. "Custody?" Elias met the envoy's many eyes. "She will be under my protection and responsibility. No harm will come to her." There was a pause, then polite nods. In compact law, ownership implied responsibility. The distinction Elias made was subtle but not openly defiant. The ceremony continued. Applause followed, a strange mix of sounds and gestures. The platform lowered. Larathi was guided toward him by an attendant who released a tether at her collar and stepped back. She stopped a few steps away from Elias. Protocol said she should kneel. She did not move. The attendant stiffened, but Elias raised a hand slightly. "It's fine," he said. Larathi hesitated, then slowly lifted her head. Their eyes met. Elias had faced enemy commanders who promised annihilation. He had stared down boarding parties in zero gravity with nothing but a sidearm. None of it prepared him for the look in her eyes. She was not pleading. She was bracing, as if waiting for something inevitable. Elias felt something hard settle in his chest. The ceremony ended soon after. Delegates dispersed, satisfied. The war hero had accepted his reward. Tradition had been upheld. Elias turned and walked toward the transport corridor without looking back to see if she followed. After a few steps, he heard soft footfalls behind him. They reached his assigned quarters, larger than standard, designed to accommodate diplomatic guests. The door slid open at his approach. Inside, the space was clean and neutral, with modular furniture and a wide viewport looking out into the starfield. Elias stepped aside. "You can come in," he said. Larathi entered cautiously, as if expecting the room itself to be a test. The door closed. Silence filled the quarters. Elias removed his uniform jacket and set it aside. He loosened the collar at his throat, suddenly aware of how tight it felt. He turned to face her. "My name is Elias Ward," he said. "I'm not going to hurt you." The translator rendered the words smoothly. Larathi blinked. Once, twice. She said nothing. "I don't know what you've been told about humans," Elias continued, keeping his voice even, "but where I come from, owning people is illegal. It's wrong." Her eyes flicked up, then down again, a reflex. "You're not my property," he said. "Not to me." There it was, the thing he had been holding back. For the first time, her composure cracked. Confusion rippled across her face, sharp and genuine. "That is not possible," she said softly. Her voice was melodic but restrained, as if she had learned not to use it much. "It is," Elias said. "At least it will be." She looked at the floor, then at the walls, then back at him. "If you reject ownership, I will be reassigned," she said. "Or punished, or terminated. That is the law." Elias clenched his jaw. "Then the law needs to be challenged," he said. Her tendrils shifted slightly, an unconscious movement. "Champions do not challenge law," she said. "They benefit from it." "Humans do," Elias replied. He gestured toward a chair. "You can sit or stand or whatever you want. There's food replicators, water. You don't need permission." She did not move. He nodded slowly. "Okay, we'll take this one step at a time." Elias moved to the viewport and stared out at the stars. He needed space to think, to breathe. Behind him, Larathi stood very still, trying to understand a situation that did not fit any rules she had been taught. After several minutes, she spoke again. "If you free me," she said, "others will notice. I know. They will be angry. I know. They may come for me." Elias turned back to her. "Then they'll have to go through me, and through humanity." The words were simple, but they carried weight. Larathi studied him carefully now, no longer just afraid but curious. "Why?" she asked. You gain nothing. Elias thought of the war, of the choices that had been made because they were necessary, not because they were right. Of how easy it was to lose sight of lines when survival was on the line. Because the war is over, he said, and this is one line we don't cross. Outside the viewport, human ships drifted among alien fleets, uneasy allies in a fragile peace. The galaxy believed humanity had revealed its strength during the war. It had no idea what humanity was about to reveal next. The station did not sleep, but it did quiet down. Hours after the ceremony, the flow of traffic outside Elias Ward's quarters slowed. The constant hum of engines faded into a distant vibration. Most delegates had returned to their ships. Diplomats preferred distance once deals were done. Inside the quarters, the lights were dimmed to a soft, neutral glow. Elias sat at the small table near the viewport, a data pad in front of him that he was not reading. His hands were wrapped around a mug of heated water, untouched. Across the room, Lorathi stood near the wall, exactly where she had stopped earlier. She had not moved much. Not because she was ordered to stay there, but because she did not know what else to do. Elias noticed. "You don't have to stand," he said again, gently. "You're not on display." She shifted slightly, uncertainty written across her face. Slowly, as if testing gravity itself, she moved toward one of the chairs. She did not sit fully, only perched on the edge, ready to rise if needed. Old habits. Elias watched her, then looked away, giving her space. He understood enough about trauma to know staring did not help. Silence stretched. Finally, Lorathi spoke. "If I fail to serve," she said, choosing her words carefully, "what punishment do you prefer?" Elias closed his eyes for a brief moment. "There is no punishment," he said. "There is no service." She frowned, clearly struggling. "Then what is my function?" "You're a person," he replied. "You don't need a function." The translator delivered the words perfectly, but meaning did not always survive translation. Lorathi's tendrils curled inward slightly. "Among my people," she said, "those without function are lost." Elias leaned back in his chair. "Among mine, we call that freedom. It's messy, confusing, sometimes scary, but it's yours." She looked down at her hands. "Freedom is a concept taught only to masters," she said. "Not to us." Elias took a slow breath. "Then we'll start with small things." He stood and walked to the replicator unit. "Are you hungry?" She hesitated. "I do not know." "That's okay," he said. "I'll get something simple." He ordered basic human food, plain grains and fruit, nothing strong. When the tray emerged, he placed it on the table and stepped back. "You can eat if you want, or not." She approached cautiously. She studied the food, then looked at him, clearly waiting for a signal. Elias nodded once. She took a small bite. Her eyes widened slightly, surprised by the taste. Not pleasure exactly, but novelty. "It's warm," she said quietly. "Yeah," Elias replied. "Humans like warm food, comfort thing." She ate slowly after that, careful but focused. Elias sat back down, not across from her but at an angle, keeping the interaction less confrontational. As she ate, his wrist communicator vibrated. Incoming message. He knew who it would be. He accepted the call. Commander Hana Ruiz appeared as a holographic projection above the table. Her expression was sharp, her dark hair pulled back in its usual tight style. "Elias," she said, "what the hell did you just do?" He did not flinch. "I accepted custody," he said, "not ownership." "You made waves," she replied, "big ones." "Good," she sighed. "The Cathari filed a clarification request. The Sarathi delegation is watching. Slaver blocks are concerned." "I imagine they are." Hana's eyes flicked briefly toward Lorathi, then back to him. "Is she safe?" "Yes." "Is she free?" Elias paused. "Not yet, but she will be." "That's going to be a problem," Hana said. Elias leaned forward. "No, slavery is the problem. This just makes it visible." Hana studied him for a moment. "You know the council will push back." "I know. They'll say you accepted a legal transfer." "I did, and I'm redefining what that means." She exhaled slowly. "You always had a talent for making my job harder." He smiled faintly. That's why you keep me around. Her expression softened slightly. I'll support you. Officially, we'll request a review of compact slave statutes. Unofficially, prepare for pressure. I'm ready, Hana nodded. Good, because this isn't just about one person anymore. The call ended. Larathi had stopped eating. You spoke to a superior, she said. You were not reprimanded. Not yet, Elias replied. She tilted her head. You are powerful, he shook his head. No, I'm just stubborn. That night, Larathi did not sleep. She sat near the viewport, watching stars slide past slowly as the station adjusted orbit. Elias offered her the sleeping space. She declined, choosing the floor instead. He did not argue. The next day brought visitors. First came diplomats, polite, curious, asking questions wrapped in compliments. Elias answered carefully, never lying, never giving ground. Then came observers, silent figures at the edge of corridors, guards who watched Larathi with open interest. She felt their eyes. Fear returned in waves. At one point she flinched when a tall insectoid passed too close. Elias noticed immediately. He stepped between them without a word. The insectoid paused, then moved on. Larathi looked at him, startled. You intervened. Yes. For no command violation. Yes. Why? Because you were uncomfortable. Her world shifted a little more. Later, Elias requested a formal audience chamber. Not for ceremony, but for statement. Larathi stood beside him as he spoke to a small assembly of council members via HoloLink. I am invoking a human legal principle, Elias said. Any sentient being under my authority is protected by human law, murmurs followed. A Sarathi counselor leaned forward. Your laws do not supersede compact tradition. They do when humans are involved, Elias replied. We do not selectively apply ethics. A Cathari elder spoke next. You risk destabilizing post-war unity. Elias met its gaze. Unity built on ownership is already unstable. The session ended without resolution, but word spread. Other humans aboard the station began asking questions, quiet ones at first. Then louder ones. Why were allies allowed to enslave sentient beings? Why had humanity accepted it during the war? Why now? Larathi noticed the change. Humans looked at her differently, not as an object, not even as a symbol, as a person. One evening, as Elias reviewed reports, Larathi spoke softly. If this fails, she said, you will be punished. Probably, he admitted. You may lose status, command, home. Maybe, she looked at him, eyes searching. You are willing to lose much for one life. Elias considered that. No, he said. I'm willing to risk much to prove we mean what we say. If we don't draw lines after victory, then victory means nothing. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said something unexpected. My people once believed in freedom, she said. Long ago, it was taken from us slowly, law by law. Elias looked up. Then maybe it's time it came back. Outside, the station lights brightened as another cycle began. The galaxy was watching. And for the first time since the war ended, humanity was not being judged by how it fought, but by what it refused to accept. Pressure did not arrive all at once. It crept in slowly, like cold through metal. By the third day after the ceremony, Elias Ward's name was being spoken in rooms he could not enter. His decision had moved beyond curiosity and become a problem. Ships delayed docking. Meetings were postponed. Requests went unanswered. Larathi noticed before he did. She felt it in the way station guards adjusted their stance when she passed, in the way some alien delegates stared openly now, no longer hiding their interest, in the way silence followed her through corridors like a shadow. You are being isolated, she said quietly as they walked back to the quarters. Elias nodded. That's usually the first step. Before punishment, she said. Before negotiation, he corrected. That night the first message arrived. It was not sent through official human channels, but through a neutral compact relay. The tone was formal, but the meaning was sharp. The Velari Trade Combine formally requested the return of Larathi. citing Compact Law Article 7, transfer of sentient property must be honored without alteration. Elias read it once, then sent it to Commander Ruiz with a single line attached. Not happening. An hour later, another message arrived, this one less polite. It warned of economic consequences and strained cooperation. Elias ignored it. The third message came directly. It did not include threats. It included an offer, private status, access to rare technology, a permanent seat in post-war councils, all in exchange for respecting tradition and quietly transferring Larathi to another owner. Elias stared at the screen for a long time. Then he deleted the message. Larathi watched from across the room. "They are trying to buy you," she said. "Yes. Many accept." "I know," she hesitated. "Why are you different?" Elias did not answer right away. He looked tired now, the kind of tired that sleep did not fix. "Because I've seen what happens when people decide some lives are easier to trade than others," he said. "It never stays limited." The next day, the station shook, not from weapons fire but from docking alarms. 3 ships from the Velari Combine arrived without prior notice. Their hulls were elegant, sharp-edged, unmistakably military. Commander Ruiz contacted Elias immediately. "This just escalated," she said. "They're claiming legal authority to retrieve property." "They don't have jurisdiction," Elias replied. "They don't care." Within hours, compact security forces appeared near Elias' quarters, neutral in theory, uncertain in practice. Larathi stood very still as Elias placed a small personal defense device on the table. He did not hand it to her. "I don't want this to become violent," he said. "It will," she replied calmly. "They do not lose assets without blood." Elias looked at her sharply. "No, not if I can help it." She met his gaze. "You cannot control others, only what you are willing to risk." That night, as station lights dimmed again, the attempt came. It was quiet, professional. The door to the quarters slid open with an override code. 3 figures moved in, armored and efficient, Velari retrieval specialists. They did not expect resistance. They did not expect Elias Ward. He was on his feet instantly, body between them and Larathi. "This is human-controlled space," he said loudly, activating his communicator. "You are trespassing." One of the Velari raised a restraint device. "Step aside, champion. This does not concern you." "It concerns me," Elias said, voice steady, "because you crossed a line." The Velari advanced. Before contact could be made, the corridor lights flared bright white. Human Marines flooded the space, weapons raised but not firing. Commander Ruiz stood at the front, eyes cold. "Stand down," she ordered, "all of you." The Velari hesitated. They were not used to being challenged like this, not without warning, not without ceremony. "You are violating compact law," one of them said. Ruiz smiled without humor. "So are you. This station recognizes human jurisdiction in this sector. You forced entry. You threatened a protected individual." Protected. The word echoed in Laratha's mind. After a tense standoff, the Velari withdrew, not defeated but blocked. The news spread fast. By morning, half the station knew. By evening, the entire compact was debating it. Some praised humanity's resolve. Others accused it of arrogance. Slaver states protested loudly, warning that this was the first step toward cultural domination. Humans watched closely. For years, they had swallowed compromises. They had told themselves the war came first, that there would be time later. Later had arrived. Human crews began filing official complaints. Human diplomats raised questions in council sessions that had been quiet for decades. Human citizens across allied systems began asking why sentient slavery still existed at all. Larathi listened as reports came in. "You have awakened something," she said to Elias. "Good," he replied. "Something dangerous." He nodded. "All change is." The turning point came when Larathi chose to speak. The request was hers. Elias warned her. "Once you do this, there's no going back." She stood straighter than he had ever seen her. "There was never a way back for me." The council chamber was virtual, spanning dozens of systems. Delegates appeared as projections, vast and varied. When Larathi appeared beside Elias, a ripple passed through the chamber. She removed the collar from her neck slowly and placed it on the table in front of her. "I was born Velari," she said, voice clear. "I was educated, trained, conditioned. I was told my value was how pleasing I was to those who owned me." Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. "I am told my people consent to this system," she continued. "We do not. Consent requires choice. We are bred without it." A slaver delegate interrupted. "You speak under influence." Larathi looked directly at him. "I speak without fear for the first time." Silence followed. She described the conditioning, the fear training, the laws that erased identity piece by piece. She did not exaggerate. She did not plead, she simply told the truth. When she finished, the chamber remained silent for several long seconds. Then questions came, angry ones, defensive ones. Elias answered when needed. Commander Ruiz backed him. Other human representatives joined in. The council did not abolish slavery that day, but something broke. Several neutral states announced temporary suspensions of slave trade pending review. A few minor powers quietly released bonded individuals to avoid scrutiny. More importantly, enslaved species were watching. Messages began arriving, cautious, anonymous, requests for asylum, requests for protection, requests for hope. Human leadership argued late into the night. This was not what they had planned after the war. This was not safe, not simple, but it was real. When Elias finally sat alone, exhaustion pressing down on him, Larathi stood nearby. "I was prepared to die owned," she said softly. "I did not know I could live unowned." He looked at her. "You're not alone anymore." She nodded. "Neither are you." Outside the station, ships shifted position. Lines were being redrawn, not on maps but in minds. The galaxy was beginning to understand something unsettling. Humanity had not fought the war to rule. It had fought it to choose. And now that it had won, it was choosing what kind of power it would be.